A bag or box full of fishing tackle does look impressive, and whilst it is good to have all situations covered when it comes to catching bream on the Norfolk Broads, you really don't need it. Whilst you may not need loads of fishing gear, there are some essential bits and pieces you do need, and in my tackle bag, excluding the rods, reels, landing net and unhooking mount of course, I carry. The hooks I use are Kamazan animal hooks. I have used this pattern of hook for several years, and whilst they may not be strong enough for large carp, they are more than good enough for the bream swimming around the Broads. Barbed hooks are not only a pain to remove, but also barbaric and cause untold damage, therefore I use barbless hooks only. I generally use size 10 hooks, as this seems to match the size of hook baits I use. Using size 10 hooks will also stop the nuisance fish devouring the bait before the bream can find it. When I bottom fish for bream, I hair rig the bait, either pellets or maize, and prefer to use mono line for a stiff hair. Carp, silk or braid will also work, but I prefer to use mono. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter if you use mono or braid, as both will catch, so it is down to personal preference. There is nothing more frustrating than hook links that get all twisted and tangled up. To overcome this, I use a barrel swivel on all of my rigs when bream fishing on the Broads. Rather than faffing around throwing out balls and balls of ground bait, most of which will get washed down the river, I use cage feeders filled with high attract ground bait to get the bream over to my hook bait. Using this size cage feeder means I don't need to fish with heavy line, but can still load it up and wang everything out a fair distance when I need to. There are times when it's nice to sit on the river bank and stare at a float tip, and with the lock slide floats I can do this with the hook bait pinned on the riverbed. Lock slide floats make float ledgering very easy, and whilst they may be expensive for a fishing float, they are worth every penny. Using hair rigs generally stops the bream from swallowing the hook too far, and I can usually take the hook out with my fingers. That said, there are times when the bream will get a bit too keen and swallow the hook, requiring the use of additional tools to remove it. Disgorgers are no good in these situations, and a pair of forceps will quickly and painlessly get the hook out. When I go fishing for bream on the Norfolk Broads, this is all I take with me, and I never have that "oh, I wish I had this" or "wish I had that" feeling. Rather than weigh yourself down with loads of unnecessary fishing tackle, I think it's best to travel light when fishing the Norfolk Broads, and that's how I fish it.